While the crypto world is glued to Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum spot approvals, while influencers chase the next meme coin, and while most people think the real action is on-chain speculation, a quiet test just went live. A test that's not being promoted, not hyped, and not even acknowledged by most of the crypto community. But this test isn't about price action. It's about infrastructure, about control, about the future of how money moves not just in DeFi, but in the entire global financial system. This test is built around ISO 20022, a technical term most people ignore, but one that's quietly becoming the new foundation for how value, identity, and data flow between banks, governments, and institutions. And here's what they're not telling you. This upgrade to global finance? It wasn't made for Bitcoin. It wasn't made for Ethereum. It wasn't made for Solana, Doge, or the next hype coin. It was made for XRP, XDC, and Stellar XLM. 3 utility coins that were ISO 20022 ready years before anyone cared. 3 protocols quietly positioned to carry liquidity, settlement, and identity into the new programmable monetary system. And now, with ISO 20022 tests running live inside central banks, fintech corridors, and regional payment systems across the world, the switch is already flipping, not with a bang, but with a silent, structured rollout. And most people still don't see it coming, because this isn't about chasing gains. It's about watching the old system being replaced, piece by piece, while everyone else is looking the other way. Let's get one thing straight. ISO 20022 isn't a buzzword. It's the foundation of the new global financial language. You've probably seen it mentioned in passing in technical documents, dull compliance updates, maybe even some crypto threads, and thought, that's just a bank thing. Doesn't affect me. But that's exactly how systemic shifts happen. Quietly, technically, while no one's paying attention. Here's the truth. ISO 20022 is the new universal standard for how money, data, and identity move between financial institutions. A global format that replaces the outdated messaging system used by banks, SWIFT, clearinghouses, and payment processors for the last 40 years. Before ISO 20022, financial messaging was fragmented. Different banks used different formats. Cross-border transactions took days. Compliance was mostly manual. And everything moved at the speed of fax machines. But now, we're entering the era of programmable finance. And ISO 20022 is the upgrade that unlocks it. It allows richer data, faster settlement, and automation of everything from taxes to trade reconciliation. It's not just a better format. It's the protocol layer for an entirely new system. So what does that mean in real terms? It means that every major financial body, from SWIFT to the Bank of England, from the European Central Bank to the US Fed, is now shifting to a standardized system that supports smart contracts, enables real-time auditing and compliance, connects seamlessly to tokenized assets, lays the foundation for central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. This isn't theoretical. SWIFT is now ISO 20022 compliant. Fedwire is migrating to ISO 20022. Over 70 countries have already implemented or committed to ISO 20022 frameworks. Private financial messaging networks like RTGS and TIPS are already live under ISO standards. And guess what? Most blockchains won't be able to plug into it, because they weren't built to speak this language. They weren't designed with compliance and interoperability in mind. They were built for speculation, not integration. That's why only a select few digital assets are ISO 20022 compatible. And 3 of them were preparing for this before the rest of the market even knew what it meant. XRP, XDC, Stellar. They aren't waiting for adoption. They were designed for it. These aren't coins hoping to get included. They were built as infrastructure to handle cross-border value transfer, trade finance, micropayments, tokenized identity, on-chain KYC/AML, CBDC interoperability. And now that ISO 20022 is live, the stage is set. These aren't speculative assets anymore. They are keys to a financial system that's already being rebuilt. Let's kill the illusion right now. The system doesn't need your permission to change. And when it does, it doesn't announce itself. There won't be a press conference. There won't be a trending hashtag. There won't be a breaking news moment to tell you the rails have been replaced. Because the next phase of global finance is being deployed like software updates, silently, iteratively, invisibly. And it's already started. In early 2024, regional banks, central banks, and cross-border settlement networks began activating ISO 20022 compliance systems, not in testnets or labs, but in live environments. Pilots in Europe, Asia, and Africa began simulating CBDC to CBDC transactions across borders, instant settlement for tokenized trade documents, liquidity provisioning using automated smart contracts, messaging and reconciliation using ISO 20022 native frameworks. And the same names keep showing up behind the curtain. XRP for liquidity bridging, XDC for trade finance flows, Stellar, XLM, for public access corridors. These protocols are not in theory anymore. They are being tested right now, not for speculation but for national-scale usage. Let's zoom in. Project Mariana, a BIS-led initiative connecting the central banks of Switzerland, Singapore, and France, used interoperable CBDCs bridged by decentralized liquidity protocols. The underlying logic mirrors XRP's function. Hong Kong and UAE began their mBridge project, testing real-time settlements between national currencies. These are corridors XRP and XDC were designed for. India and Singapore ran ISO 20022 compatible digital rupee transfers, piloting tokenized document exchanges and trade agreements. XDC's enterprise network is already embedded in this region's trade architecture. MoneyGram and Stellar launched on off-ramp trials for stablecoins, in coordination with ISO 20022 ready banking APIs, quietly plugging XLM into retail corridors across Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America. These aren't guesses. They're moves already in motion. And here's what no one is saying. This isn't about testing coins. It's about testing integrations. The financial elite doesn't care which blockchain pumps next. They care about which ones work quietly, predictably, and securely under regulatory standards. ISO 20022 is the benchmark. And these pilots are proving one thing. The system is being built around ISO native protocols. Not flashy layer ones. Not gas-hungry smart contract platforms. Not speculative narratives. But specialized, interoperable, scalable protocols that can handle real money, real identity, and real regulation. Now ask yourself, why weren't you told about this? Why is the crypto conversation still stuck on ETFs, memecoins, and headlines from 2021? Because while the crowd is distracted, the quiet transformation is happening in backrooms, across closed-door consortiums, and inside digital currency working groups. And the assets being tested? They're not waiting for adoption. They're being installed. There's a reason this shift is happening in silence. Not because it's irrelevant, but because it's too important to be left to public opinion. Because if people truly understood what ISO 20022 actually represents, if they realized that the very core of the global financial system is being upgraded quietly, not debated publicly, if they saw which blockchain protocols are already embedded into the new foundation, it would already be too late to stop it. This isn't about price charts. It's not about the next bullish altcoin narrative. And it's not even about crypto as most people know it. This is about control, about financial infrastructure, about the invisible plumbing that decides how the world moves value. And once new infrastructure gets installed, it doesn't get uninstalled. Look at the patterns. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Think about the internet. It didn't begin with a flashy keynote or global rollout. It started in basements, in backrooms, in cold server rooms at universities and defense research labs. First came the protocols TCP, IP, HTTP, DNS. Then came the developers. Then the browsers. Then the businesses. And then suddenly the entire world ran on it. By the time people understood it, it was everywhere, and they couldn't live without it. That's exactly what's happening now, but this time, it's with money. ISO 20022 is the protocol layer for the new financial internet. ISO 20022 isn't a trend. It's not a crypto upgrade. It's not something you invest in. It's something your money will eventually depend on. It's the new language of money. Not just for banks, but for governments, fintechs, identity systems, compliance engines, tokenized assets, and programmable money. It's the new DNA of finance, and it's already rolling out. Slowly, deliberately, irreversibly. It's replacing the decades-old messaging standards that have held back innovation in cross-border settlements, trade finance, real-time compliance, identity verification, digital asset interoperability, central bank digital currencies. This isn't about building something new from scratch. It's about replacing the rails beneath the world's money, while keeping the surface calm. And when this transition is done, the protocols that are already connected, the blockchains that already speak ISO 20022 natively, they won't just survive. They'll be required. Not a new DeFi, a digitized TradFi. Here's what most people miss. The future of finance won't look like DeFi summer. It won't be chaotic, experimental, or permissionless by default. It'll look like TradFi but faster, automated, and fully digitized. It will still have regulators. It will still need compliance. It will still have gatekeepers, just more efficient ones. But the infrastructure it runs on, that's the shift. It won't be private databases. It won't be closed banking networks. It won't be the legacy Swift framework. It will be open source, on-chain, and selectively decentralized. And only a few blockchain protocols were engineered from the beginning to fit that world. That shortlist? XRP, XDC, Stellar, already ISO 20022 native, already built for liquidity, settlement, and remittance, already embedded in global pilot programs for CBDCs, stablecoins, and tokenized trade, already trusted to handle sensitive flows, not just speed but identity, metadata, compliance, and scale. These protocols aren't waiting for adoption. They're being installed. So why does it matter now? Because this isn't a forecast anymore. It's not what might happen. It's what is happening. The rollout has begun. The rails are being rebuilt. And the world is upgrading without asking you for permission. And when these protocols become systemically embedded, the game changes. Their value will no longer be driven by headlines, speculation, or influencer narratives. They'll be driven by utility, integration, dependence. They won't spike from hype. They'll rise from necessity. Because once the system runs on these rails, unplugging them won't be an option. This isn't a test. It's a transition. The old financial system, it's not being enhanced. It's being dismantled quietly, globally, piece by programmable piece. And the new system is not waiting to be voted in. It's being built behind the scenes with code, not consensus. The window to understand this shift is narrow. The window to act on it, even smaller. Because by the time the average investor realizes what ISO 20022 actually enabled, by the time the rails are fully connected, by the time XRP, XDC, and Stellar are no longer optional but infrastructure, it won't matter who caught the bottom. It will only matter who recognized the foundation while it was still being laid. They told you to follow the noise, buy the pump, chase the breakout, ride the next wave of hype. They kept you focused on the surface, while the foundations were being rewritten beneath your feet. Because this was never about altcoins or trends, never about memecoins or influencer speculation. It was about something deeper, something structural, the rewriting of global finance line by line, rail by rail. While the world obsessed over ETFs and forks, a new language of money was being installed. While traders watched charts, engineers wrote code, governments tested blockchains, banks restructured their back-end systems, not for entertainment, not for volatility, but for integration. ISO 20022 is not just a protocol. It's a signal that the system is evolving. And when systems evolve, they do not consult the crowd. They just move. One day soon, perhaps without realizing it, you'll send money and it will settle in seconds. You'll pay your taxes in real time. Your ID, your assets, your contracts, tokenized, secured, automated. And beneath it all, the rails powering that world won't be legacy databases. They'll be blockchains, but not the ones built for hype. The ones built for scale, for compliance, for real use. XRP, XDC, Stellar. They aren't fighting for market cap anymore. They've already won something far more powerful. Positioning. They are the new Internet of value. The silent carriers of liquidity, trade, identity, and trust. And by the time the mainstream catches up, it won't matter what price they entered. It will only matter if they understood what they were holding. Because these aren't coins. They are keys to a system already live, already running, already reshaping the rules of global finance. You're not early anymore. You're at the edge of the activation curve. The decisions from here aren't about luck. They're about awareness. Because when the lights come on, when ISO 20022 moves from compliance protocol to default infrastructure, when central banks stop testing and start switching, you won't be asked to join. You'll already be inside the system, or watching from outside, wondering when everything changed. This is your signal, not to speculate, to understand. Because the most powerful transitions in history are the ones that happen without asking permission. And this one has already begun.